England's historic seafaring town, Plymouth, turns on the action as the world's best sailors go into battle on their SailGP F50 catamarans. 3 races are coming up today to decide the event winner. Plymouth goes the way of the Aussies. But yesterday was all about making history.
The umpires, Spain, you have been black flagged from the race.
Robertson goes from being Houdini to black flag. The USA lead us into day 2. Goes to the USA squad. Hold on tight.
3, 2, 1. Here we go. Wing on! Hey! Keep going! Come on! Hurry up, boys, come on!
I love this job.
Hello and welcome to the second and deciding day of SailGP's first visit to Britain's historic ocean city of Plymouth. The world's best yachtsmen take to Plymouth Sound in front of big crowds on shore and on the water with 3 races scheduled. 2 fleet races to decide the top 3 teams who go into the final and that all-important final race. I'm your host, Todd Harris, and with me are America's Cup yachtsmen Freddie Carr and Matt Cornwell. And first up, Freddie, let's talk about the weather and what the fans will be seeing, but more importantly, what the sailors will be seeing out there on the water.
Well, it's light-ish. Again, it's around 15 kilometres an hour. I'd have thought there's going to be a decision to be made between a 3- and a 5-man crew. The breeze is out of the south, but it's flicking round to the southwest. A lot of the conversation off the boats in their warm-up laps is about liking the right-hand side of the course for pressure over by Drake's Island.
Well, let's take a look at the leaderboard after day number 1. This is what it looks like. The Americans have the lead by 1 over France at Belle-Basson. Australia is sitting on a tie with the French. And then it's Denmark, New Zealand, Spain. Big surprise seeing Japan and Nathan Outteridge and Great Britain being down at the bottom. But plenty of work to do. Remember, 8 points per win in each race. We've got 2 before the final race. Well, there are thousands onshore and afloat around the race course on the historic Plymouth Sound today, looking forward to what should be a very exciting 3 races within the next 90 minutes. Last night, there was almost as much excitement off the water about the hugely controversial incident at the start of race 3, when Spain was disqualified for breaking the barging rule aimed at stopping boats from crashing in on others at one end of the line. We'll let you weigh in after you watch this to see if the black flag was warranted. And here's where it gets chaotic. Who's going to time it right?
Oh, man. What? God, man, if Phil Robertson gets away with that, it will be something else.
This is the umpires. Spain, you have been black flagged from the race.
Black flagged out the race!
Phil Robertson.
Oh, my God.
So that means Robertson goes from being Houdini to black flagged.
Rubbish.
Yeah, we just had a quick look at the footage, and I mean, in my eyes, that's at most a penalty against the USA boat, but even that is a marginal call considering what's going on there.
Take me through that black flag incident with Spain. Do you agree with the umpire's ruling?
Oh, for sure. I mean, Phil's getting a bit of a reputation for doing that sort of thing, so we weren't surprised at all.
We've seen this move before, and it was decided action had to be taken.
After the incident in Bermuda, we had a review of contact, damage, and also our penalty process, to discourage, you can call it dangerous driving. And so we looked at this and we came up with a policy, and we talked it through with the sailors. The advantage gain is so huge, in the order of 250, 300 metres potentially, because if you had to bail out and go around in a big circle, you would lose a massive distance. But he nearly got it. He nearly did it. He was nearly the golden child. It was a spectacular start. He was literally centimetres from the line. His timing was perfect. But unfortunately, other boats that had the right of way were too close, and they had to be the ones that gave way. And so he breaks the rule. It leads to a black flag.
There was room there. We nailed the timing, and I guess we got punished pretty hard. So I expect to see that sort of precedent being set for the rest of the series. And if that's how they're going to judge it, then that's going to be it. So any boat that offends at the windward end of the line is going to get disqualified.
He's done it so many times, he's going to kill someone doing that.
First in SailGP's history.
Well, a beautiful day in Britain's ocean city of Plymouth. So what about the man at the center of all of this? Interim driver of Spain, Phil Robertson, the two-time World Match Racing winner, who gives his approach to yacht racing in the SailGP documentary, Racing on the Edge.
The sport of sailing for me has got way more extreme, and it is scary at first. What I've discovered in this sport is you've always got to keep scaring yourself to make sure that you're comfortable feeling uncomfortable. Between events is all about training, trying to keep developing your skill set, keep the brain ticking over and make sure you come back to the next event a lot better than what you were, and that is really, really difficult to do. It's not easy. There is no other boat in the world like the F50.
And back in Plymouth at Britain's Ocean City for the third event, Great Britain's Sail Grand Prix, as we are set to go racing. Tom Slingsby, the helmsman for Australia SailGP, kind enough to join us. Tom, what a day it was for you guys yesterday. You come out hot with 2 wins in a row. Let me take you back, though, to that black flag incident. Did you see it, and what was your take on it?
Yeah, I did see the incident, but not well, if I'm honest. I just saw Spain reaching in from the top, and I remember thinking there's not a lot of room there. And look, my take on it is I think people don't see the backstory. Phil's been doing this quite a bit in practice as well, and it's a pretty dangerous situation. So, in my opinion, it was the black flag was necessary. We need to finally put our foot down and stop people doing that, because it is a very dangerous incident. So, I think it's a fair penalty.
Happy to be joined by Tom Slingsby, the helmsman for Australia SailGP. Tom, good luck to you. We wish you the very best, and we'll see you later on today as we now join Spain and Phil Robertson. Phil, it's a new day. You've had a night to kind of think about what happened in the black flag. Still of the same opinion that you don't think it was warranted? Having some issues getting your comms dialed in there, Phil, but we do appreciate your time, as Spain was given a black flag yesterday, unable to get points on that last race of the day, so they find themselves now sitting in 6th place just on 10 points, where the USA leads with 19 points. We hope to have those comms worked out. We'll see once again if Phil can hear us. Phil, can you hear us? So unfortunately, we will have to go back to Phil later on today, the helmsman for Spain SailGP. Plenty of crowds here as we welcome you back to Plymouth. What a fantastic day we have in store. It's going to be warm. It's going to be a little bit breezy, but the critical point is, Freddie Carr, where will that wind come from, and where will it be, and how will it affect these high-performance F50 catamarans? Well, it's all about figuring out what to do when you're out there. But right now, let's quickly take a look back at yesterday's racing to see how the crews have positioned themselves for today.
With light wind conditions on day one, expectations were high for Nathan Outteridge and the Japan SailGP team to control the day. But race 1 and 2 was dominated by Season 1 champion Tom Slingsby, as they started showing their form by winning both races by a large margin.
And they will take the first 2 races of the day.
France, Spain, Japan and New Zealand battled hard for podium places, finishing off well ahead of Denmark and Great Britain.
For a boat that won the event in Bermuda to kick off the season, they are really struggling. Not the result they're looking for, and they've dug themselves an early hole.
Race 2 saw Rockwool Denmark getting their best result of the season by finishing 2nd. They were followed by France, who secured 3rd place for a 2nd consecutive race. Surprisingly, Japan finished last in race 2.
Bravo, says Billy Besson to his boys. Fist pumps at the front. Nice work, guys.
For the 3rd race of the day, history was made in SailGP as we saw the first ever black flag for championship leader Phil Robertson on the Spanish team, who was disqualified for his aggressive start on the USA team.
This is the umpires. Spain, you have been black flagged from the race.
So that means Robertson goes from being Houdini to black flagged.
Rubbish. That is rubbish. They couldn't get to us, umpire.
USA became the eventual winners, and who after 3 races are leading the event. France are in second with a hat-trick of third places, followed by Australia, who had a strong start to the weekend. The outsiders to qualify for the final race on day 2 are Denmark and New Zealand.
So the fans turning out on Championship Sunday as we are under 4 minutes to go before the start of race number 4. Then it's race number 5, and then the top 3 teams will race it off for the final race of the day. It should be a great day, a nice way to end the weekend here in the southwestern corner of Great Britain. All right, let's talk about the course map, Freddie, and what they'll be dealing with today on the Sound.
So the start is all important in the light winds. If you win the start, as we saw with the Australians yesterday, you have a great chance of winning the race. If you barge in, you're going to feel the wrath of the umpires. You've got to send it into Mark 1 to set yourself up for the all-important first jibe. Stay on the foils, you could be sailing away. Come off the foils, you'll be at the back of the fleet. Gate 2 is often carnage. All the boats trying to fit into a tiny gap. This is where you choose to go left or right on your first upwind. You've got to be reading the wind on the water, and we know the boats like the right-hand side over by that island. Gate 3 is the halfway point of the course, and this was proper sporty yesterday with a lot of close crosses coming in at that mark. Onto the downwind and into the final upwind. This is where the nation versus nation battles begin, but the mid-fleet will be raging, and this for me is where the most important points are won and lost as you shoot out to try and get to the top 3. You have to sail smart and you have to sail fast on the final downwind to try and bank your position if you're in the lead, or try and sail past others if you're at the back of the fleet. It is going to be cracking racing, starting with race 4. Race 4 for me, I call the elimination race.
So all 8 boats are getting into position into the start area. This is the key as we come up on 2 minutes to go, Freddie. We saw this play out yesterday in all 3 races. If you don't stick that start, you are almost guaranteed not to be in the top 3.
100%. And in the lighter airs, that's accentuated. You've got to get off the start line well. We saw it in race 1 and 2 with the Australians. It's pretty simple, isn't it, Matt? If you're the fastest boat when the gun goes, the closest to the line, you launch onto that first reach.
It is simple when you say it like that, but of course with starting it never is simple. The boats that were doing well were the boats that were just behind the front pack and had a gap to accelerate into. But of course there's 7 other boats on the start line that are closing those gaps up for you, so it's more simple than it sounds.
Coming up on 90 seconds to go, Freddie. That was a great shot. Seeing the flag, seeing the wind come in. It doesn't look like it's building.
It's building a little. There's still a lot of chat around the right-hand side on board with the Japanese here. Now these guys are involved in race 4, what I call the elimination race. If these guys do not win this race, I do not think they'll be featuring in the final shootout, race 6, the 3-boat race at the end of the day. If you're in the bottom half overall now, you have to be looking to win this race to stay alive.
8 points to the winner. Remember, Japan won the last event in Italy at Taranto, so they're looking for a big bounce back here in Great Britain. So coming up on 50 seconds to go, you cannot cross that line until the clock goes 0. This is where the big scramble begins.
A lot of communication on the boat, talking about their final manoeuvres in the French here, forcing the British to attack. The British got a penalty for that yesterday. Billy Besson driving his boat through the fleet. Very interestingly, not many boats are at the top of the line here. Not many boats are playing the Phil Robertson card. And Phil Robertson there has completely changed his tactics from yesterday. He's now involved at the dogfight at the bottom of the line. There are no boats looking to push in here. USA are closest to the line. They're going to have to do a good trigger pull. But look at New Zealand. They are rumbling beautifully with 10 seconds to go.
So this is the calm before the chaos. Race number 4 set to go underway. Is everyone hit it right? Look at New Zealand. Did they get it? Yes, the line goes 0 and New Zealand up and foiling.
What an amazing start by interim helm Sarafagis on New Zealand. This is his last day as interim helm here for the Kiwi crew, and he's looking to leave his mark on SailGP.
Wow, did you see that start from the Japanese though too? Oh, here we go, umpire call.
No umpire call. Penalty on USA. That's the regatta leader. Must have been a boat-on-boat incident, I believe.
But the Japanese really squeaked it through a small gap there. They saw that gap that we talked about. They were behind everyone else, and they had speed all the way through it and punched out into second place.
Coming up
So at mark number 1, it's New Zealand, Japan, Spain, Great Britain, and Denmark. The first 5 through. The USA coming through in 6th, just ahead of France, guys. You called it, Freddie. This is moving day. If you were at the bottom yesterday, you need to be at the top of this race, and that's exactly where New Zealand, Japan, and Great Britain find themselves.
Exactly, Todd, and the breeze has shifted round to the left here. That's why all the boats have stayed on this jibe. That means the conversation, the tactical conversation on board the boats is about doing one manoeuvre and into the first leeward gate. The Danish are the first boats to jibe, and here's our lead boat. Look how quickly they got across the boat. They're looking to stay on the foils here. If they drop out of the sky and the hulls touch the water, they could lose the lead. Let's see if they pull it off.
We might do one more jibe for the mark.
So there we go. There's Sarafagis saying we might do one more jibe before the bottom gate. They have the tactical game open to them here. They've got to go in between those 2 black marks top of picture. They can either turn left or right, and it sounds like they've just called for a left turn.
See those blue lines coming in, indicating wind direction. Right now, it's holding just about 19.5 kilometers an hour with Japan just off the left-hand side of New Zealand. So this will be tricky at gate number 2.
Slow turn, that's the voice of Nathan Outridge, the driver of the Japanese boat, and we've got a split around the first leeward gate, Todd.
So this will be huge. Where the top part of the screen is where more of the pressure seems to be, and Arno Sarafagis filling in for Peter Burling as the helmsman. Has a nice run going here, but so does Nathan Outridge for Japan at the bottom.
Phil Robertson in the Spanish round in 3rd. A slight gap back to the British in 4th. The British have got to move up from 4th if they're going to stay alive for the rest of the day. We know from all their communication on board the boat before the start, the boats wanted to get out to the right-hand side of the course. That is the way that New Zealand and Spain are going.
Paul Goodison, the driver for Great Britain, filling in for Ben Ainsley, who stepped off the boat for family matters for the last 2 races. He'll be back in Denmark. The USA go through in 5th.
The Danish going round on Rockwall. Even though they did a right turn at the bottom, they are also trying to get out to the Drake's Island side of the race course. I think there might be a little bit more wind over there. More wind equals more boat speed, but not if you don't nail your maneuvers and fall off the foil.
So Freddie, here's the big question. If everyone knows that the more pressure is at the top of the course up towards Drake Island, why is Japan and some of the other boats going to the other side?
They're just trying to open up the race course, sail in a different patch of pressure, and it looks to me like the Japanese have paid dividends from splitting away from New Zealand, and we have a lead change.
So Japan goes into 1st place. New Zealand now slides back to 2nd, Spain in 3rd, and Great Britain falling off back into 4th. Moments ago, they were in 2nd.
This is really the nature of the course we've got out here on the Plymouth Sound today too. It's a very wide course. So although the breeze is very even across the course from what we can see, there's opportunities for teams to get wide, big splits on other teams, as we see now. Japanese going out all the way out to the other side. They'll get a long way from the New Zealand team. So there's a good chance they will be sailing in different conditions.
Setting up. Big wing, my wing. Going forward. Get my rig.
This is the final attack on the first upwind for the Japanese. You could see them all swapping roles going into that tack. The helmsman roll, the driving roll changed, the wing sheet roll changed. They pop straight up onto the foil out of that one, over the critical 30 kilometers an hour.
So it's Japan out in front, New Zealand, as we come up on leg 3, moving over to leg 4.
This is interesting. The Japanese are sailing a further distance here to get round through the windward gate. New Zealand are going to the right-hand mark as you look upwind, and it feels to me like they might launch slightly better onto the downwind.
It's all about points here. 8 points for the winner. You're trying to build enough points for these next 2 races today to get in the final race of the day where only the top 3 boats will compete.
And very significantly, guys, looking at the scoreboard, you see the top 4 boats right now on the race course are the bottom 4 boats on the scoreboard, which is very significant for the survival of those 4 teams in trying to get into those coveted top 3 places and get into the final here in Plymouth. So let's see how that works out over this race. It is critical for these teams that are in the lead.
And if you're the Americans, Freddie, I got to think you got a little bit of room of air because you're sitting on top with the 19 points, but you don't want to give too many points away in this 4th race.
The boats that are kind of in the drop zone at the moment in that third place overall are France and Australia, and they are currently 7th, or just moved to 6th and 8th, so a bit of pressure building on those guys.
Amazing what one day does, as Australia came out yesterday, won the first 2 races, and then the Americans went on a bit of a tear to hold on to that first day lead of 19 points, just ahead of Australia on 18 and France in 3rd on 18 as well.
That's on board with the French here, Billy Besson. Got the Aussies just creeping into shot, coming down to the leeward gate. There's a big split here. The front 4 boats seem to have stepped away from the back 4 boats, so there's 2 battles going on as the Japanese go around gate 4 for the last time. This is their last upwind. This is their last opportunity to read the wind. We know they made massive gains by going out to this hand side of the course on the first upwind. That's where they got the lead change. Let's see if they do the same again. Talking about all the way to boundary, that was Nathan Outridge going, yes, we are going to go all the way this way, as the British close right up on New Zealand here. What will the British do?
What a dip!
Oh, they're asking for room. I don't think they've got it. Matt, you're the rules expert.
No, they didn't have room, so that yellow circle there, if they weren't inside overlap, when they got to that yellow circle, there was no room for them.
So that was the voice of Paul Goodison saying, room, room, you have to let us around. And Sarah Faggis and the New Zealanders said, no way, Paul. That is not your mark to take. We own this one, and that's why we see the New Zealand team stay ahead of the British.
2nd and 3rd, the battle, New Zealand and Great Britain. Spain, meanwhile, comes into view as they pass by the Americans, who are still heading upwind. The Americans currently sitting in 5th, but Japan doing a fantastic job way off on the horizon. Spain still in this battle, but they took a big hit yesterday with that black flag, not getting any points coming in today with just 10 points overall.
Really significantly, look at that picture there, sorry, we just missed it, but Australia and France are sitting in 7th and 8th right now. Those 2 guys that occupy those top 3 spots, they've got to hang on to that. They do not want this. This will be nervy moments for them. And also we know with Tom Slingsby, he's a confidence guy. He doesn't like being at the back of the fleet, and this will not be good for him going into that next race, trying to get into the final in the 3rd race.
Nathan Outridge out in front. You hear him chatting. There you see the Brits maneuvering right in front of Spain, possibly sending them the dirty air. And here comes another crossing. Remember, moments ago we saw the last gate, New Zealand not giving way. They didn't have to, they had the right of way. And this time Great Britain will dip behind them.
That's, again, the voice of Paul Goodison saying, this is good, guys. We're going to get this split from the Kiwis at the top. When he's saying split, it means they're going to be sailing on the opposite side of the course as they come into their final downwind. When you're on the opposite side of the course, it means you're sailing in different wind strengths and gives the boat behind opportunities to overtake as we jump back on board with the Japanese.
There you see Olympic gold medalist Nathan Outridge on the right-hand side with his hand on the wheel. Chris Draper just to his right.
Final upwind mark here, the Japanese. This is what we're used to seeing from the Japanese. This is what they did in Taranto. They got out in front and stayed in front. They had a terrible day by their standards yesterday. Nice little return to form, Todd. Francesco Bruni, the flight controller on board the Japanese boat, doing a really nice job of controlling the dagger board, the foil, the thing on board the boat that lifts the boat out of the water, and that's the hardest moment in the race for the flight controllers at the windward marks.
And look at this, New Zealand seemingly opening up a bigger lead on Great Britain, and they're going to make this quick. Quick turn right around the nearest gate, and they're heading now downwind.
Very interestingly, all the chat in the pre-start was about getting to the right-hand side of the course over to Drake's Island. Every boat that's gone to the left-hand side of the course in race number 4, the elimination race, has gained. The British come round in 3rd place. I feel like this is a good result for the British, having had 2 awful races yesterday in race 1 and 2. They recovered with a 2nd in the final race. They might just need to jump 1 more spot to try and keep their hopes alive in their home event.
And look at the USA moving up into 4th place ahead of Spain. That's significant because that's another point that has given into the USA. If they can finish that spot, almost guaranteeing a spot in the final.
USA versus Spain, hey? There was a bit of chat about that overnight. I've never seen sailing social media light up like it did around that penalty decision. Anyway, that's yesterday, but I'm sure it's going to live long in the memory of Phil Robertson.
Phil Robertson issued the black flag yesterday in race number 3 as he infringed on the space of Jimmy Spithill. Was quick to let his feelings be known.
If it finishes where it stands here, with the Japanese having a nice, confident race, going wire to wire, and Australia and France in 7 and 8, this is going to really concertina the overall leaderboard. This is exactly the tonic the Japanese need for a bad day yesterday.
Let's, when we finish, make our way up there quite quickly.
That's game face, isn't
Yeah,
it? He's
Nathan's
not
already
even bothered
tried.
about this race win. He's all about the next race already. That's the voice of Nathan Outteridge.
So it's Japan SailGP bouncing back from yesterday. They currently sit in 7th place, one off the bottom with just 9 points, but they will pick up 8 points in a big win in race number 4.
Lifeline for the Japanese, no doubt. A big lifeline for the Japanese. They are alive in Plymouth.
So now the battle on for the points that are still available. With Japan winning that race, New Zealand, Great Britain, the USA, and Spain desperately needs a top finish, even if they can get ahead of the Americans or the Brits.
Great results from the Kiwis here. They've been suffering a little bit from mid-table obscurity in the season so far, and at this regatta. A 2nd place is a nice little stamp by these guys, and it gives them the opportunity to press with Australia and France doing badly to try and make the 3rd spot. This race 5 is going to be all on.
So as things stand, gentlemen, if the Japanese win this race and New Zealand come in where they are number 2, and France being all the way back down in 8th, that would put Japan within 2 points of the French and New Zealand within 1 point of the French, with that final race to come before we cut off the top 3. So this is really significant right now.
And look at this, Jimmy Spithill, USA, SailGP, they are up and foiling, looking very good. They're going to pick up a point ahead of Phil Robertson, so a little salt in the wound for the Spanish boat there, courtesy of Mr. Spithill.
Exactly what we're talking about, you know? Yeah, stop the hump.
I know what they're talking about there. They're talking about their rudder. As soon as they crossed the line, they looked back and started looking at their rudder. They're not happy with that rudder. I'd expect to see a little bit going on in between races on board the American boat.
3 boats still on the water racing here in race number 4. 2 races still to go, but you've got to be in the top 3 to be in that final race as we get a good look at Denmark SailGP presented by Rockwell. Nikolai Sehested, guys, he needs to find that consistency. We've seen him at the top of the board. We've seen him at the bottom. He's got to find a more consistent run.
He's one of the only unchanged crews here in Plymouth. They've got to be looking to grab some points here before everybody returns from the Olympics. High pressure on the Danes.
And there is Australia Slingsby. This is a far cry from the first 2 races yesterday where they finished 1st and 1st, back-to-back first-place finishes. And for Billy Basson in France, oh, the frustration on board has got to be just amazing.
It's interesting for me. I thought before today's racing, I thought, well, if Australia and France have a bad first race, it's going to open it right up. Look at this. It's last and second to last. It is open race 5 right up.
Yeah, but we're here. You hear the...
Let's listen on board with Billy Besson. I heard
Lee. But not until we went through the mark.
I heard Lee McMillan say that he hit protest there, so there might have been a slight incident against the Australians, and that's the voice of Tom Slingsby saying our rudders are washing out so easy. So he's also got a rudder problem. Not only do the rudders turn left and right, but they help you fly. And if they're washing out, that means you're going to fly much, much worse.
So there it is. It is 1 race complete here on Championship Sunday. Japan goes out and gets all 8 points. New Zealand 2nd, Great Britain in 3rd. The USA coming back to finish in 4th place. But those are some valuable 5 points the Americans will add that they're already leading 19 points after yesterday's performance.
Wow. As a sports fan, you couldn't have scripted that much better. To have the Japanese winning the race and staying alive.
And that's a much different attitude on board Japan SailGP, and Nathan Outteridge staying very calm, knowing he still has races to go. As we take a look now at the scoreboard on what took place on race number 4. Congratulations once again to Japan as they get the win. So as we have a look at the leaderboard, the Americans looking very good as they get ready for race number 5, and Japan having some momentum as we get ready for the next race.
Good job. Great number.
Nice, man.
Yeah. Good effort.
Oh yeah, guys. Nice one. Not yet, not yet. 3, 2, 1.
My rig.
Back in Plymouth on a beautiful Sunday afternoon for the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix. This is event number 3. Started off in Bermuda. Last event was in Italy, and here we are in Great Britain. Todd Harris, Freddie Carr, and Matt Cornwell. Freddie, let's go through the highlights of the very exciting race number 4 here to open things up on Sunday.
It's always a pivotal race, race 4 in my mind. Let's take a look at the start. There was a penalty dished out here between the Americans and I believe the Japanese. I didn't see it real time, so here's my opportunity to look again. With 7 seconds to go, oh, here we go. Nathan Outridge comes down below the American boat and gives them a little luff. And Craig Mitchell gave the Americans a penalty that put them back, I believe, coming into the top mark. We were talking about the left-hand side of the course being unfavoured before the start, but it was the Japanese that got out the left-hand side, and this was great action coming into the leeward gate. This was the battle for second place, and I feel like GBR had to take that second place to try and give themselves a hope. The boat that did give themselves a hope is the Japanese, and as I said, with Australia and France struggling at the back of the fleet, this really was a golden bullet for Outridge as he keeps his hopes alive going into race 5.
Well, Plymouth has been a fantastic host this week with all the difficulties of COVID and the fact that the weekend has been one of the hottest of the year, being shrugged off by the crowds on shore and, of course, on the water. And we know the crews really appreciate the support they're getting from the fans that it turned out here for Great Britain's Sail Grand Prix. Now, there has just been good news that an additional event has been added to season number 2, which will take SailGP back to where it all started.
It's exciting to be back in Australia for the SailGP event. Sydney Harbour is the best place to race F50s in the world, and we're going to have plenty of crowd out on the water watching in all spectator boats. Very pumped. I'd love to say that we're going to win this year, and we're definitely going to do everything we can to make that come true.
What an opportunity to be out on the water here in the Sound in Britain's Ocean City to witness this 3rd event of SailGP. This is the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix as we get ourselves ready for race number 5, and then the top 3 teams will race it off in the final race of the day here on the Sound with beautiful conditions for the fans as we are under 4.5 minutes to go until the start of race number 5. Who will be eliminated and who will be moving on? So it's hot on and off the water in Plymouth today, and it's worth briefly noting that the growth of SailGP from 6 teams and 5 venues 2 years ago to 8 teams and 9 venues this season. And watch out for news about another new team shortly. But back to the present, and our teams are not just racing for the championship on the water. They're also racing for a lot more than just that.
We're here for the Impact League launch, so it's pretty exciting for all the teams.
Normally we are racing on the water for competition, and now we're racing for the planet.
What I love about what SailGP are doing is they're not just talking about it. This is about action, not words.
The point of the Impact League and SailGP is to make people aware of things that they're probably not aware of.
They can actually give points for the amount of impact that each team's chosen purpose.
SailGP is really sort of setting the example for all sport across the world to follow.
Taking that power of sport and connecting it to impact. And if we can bring those two things together, imagine what change we can see.
Competition, it's in our nature. It drives technology, performance, progress. Moving faster, pushing harder. Our sport is powered by nature, and we're entering a new race. Welcome to the SailGP Impact League. In the race for a better world, every positive action is a step closer to a cleaner future. Competing to reduce waste, increase efficiency, and shine a light on climate change. Our teams will earn points throughout the season across every aspect of their operations. We're here to make an impact. Race for the future.
And before the start of race number 5, we want to give you the leaderboard and what it looks like right now. After 4 races, the Americans Jimmy Spithill, USA SailGP, have the lead, 4 points clear of Australia and Tom Slingsby, who sit in 2nd place, 1 point ahead of France. So that's the cutoff line. You need to be ahead of those 3 teams if you want to get into the final. Top 3 moving on. So a lot of work to do for New Zealand and Japan still in it. Guys, it looks a little bit grim for Denmark, Great Britain, and Spain. They're going to need an amazing race and hope those top teams finish towards the bottom.
Yeah, it's hard to say, Todd. I see the USA have stepped away a little bit here, but the battle from 2 down to 5 is all on for that all-important top 3 in race number 6. 1 minute 30
90
to go.
seconds to go. You like to see that, Freddie. A little bit of breeze coming across those boats. The flags fluttering in the wind, and that's good news for the SailGP, the world's greatest sailors, as they get ready for race number 5. 1:15 to go before the start of race number 5. This will be the race to determine who the top 3 boats will be to race off in the final race of the day. The Americans look good. They've got great position right now, but there's still a lot of points out there. 8 points to the winner of the race.
And it looks a little bit softer on the race course. Todd, we're on board with the Australians here. Looks a little bit softer on the race course. It looked quite patchy. With 53 seconds to go to the start, again, nobody's pushing the top of the line. Everybody's learnt their lessons there. 46 seconds to go on board with the Australians. We know that they are one of the boats under threat for not making the top 3. The boats are very close to the line. I wonder if they're aware of the points. I'm sure they are. The abacuses will be clicking away in the coach boats. The Americans are very close indeed to the start line, as are the Danes. The Japanese have got good speed, but Australia's blocking them coming in with 23 seconds to go. The British are lining up at the bottom. Everybody's being fairly cautious here, which means I'd expect fairly early trigger pulls. Japanese are still trying to find that spot. How's he going to get through there? So close, and he does. 8 seconds to go.
So with 5 seconds at the line, wait for the line to go white, and it does, so everyone's clear. Japan, did they do it right? No penalty, going the way of the Japanese.
This is the umpires, penalty Japan, relative Australia, relative Australia.
That's an early start penalty for the Japanese. That means when the gun went, they are over the line. And I tell you what, guys, Japanese have got to get behind Australia. I tell you what, guys, it is lighter. We called it before the start, and these boats are struggling to foil, apart from France and Great Britain, who have popped and are leading away. This is massive news for France. They are one of the boats defending that top 3 spot.
Denmark and New Zealand had to bear away at the start as to not get a penalty. Did it cost them massively? Yes, it did. The U.S. in third place, but they've got to be happy with that. They stayed away from trouble, avoided a penalty, and now they just need to sail a clean race.
The Union Jacks will be waving on the shoreline. I've heard that there's about 8,000 to 10,000 people on the shoreline today, all supporting the British team. Will they get rewarded in race 5 for their loyal support?
And the really significant thing here, guys, is if it finishes just as we see now. It's a long way to go, obviously, but it's very comfortable for the French and the American team. That would put them in the final. So keep your eyes on Japan and Australia. There isn't too many points between those guys. There's only 3 points between them. Japan has to get behind them right now, but look for splits, look for some match racing between those two teams. The Australians will know all about that.
And how great would this be for the home fans here in Plymouth to see Great Britain SailGP come away with a victory?
Penalty clear.
Finally, about 45 to a minute after the start, the Japanese have cleared their penalty on Australia, as you can see, puts them back in 6th place. That's not what they want to back up their race win with. Japan have got to go and try and get in the front 2 to get in the final 3 shootout. On board with Phil Robertson as he jibes. It is much lighter here. I believe the flight controllers are really struggling to keep the boats in the air. Phil Robertson currently in 4th place. Settling down, he has also got a lot to do, the overall season leader, to get into the final in Plymouth.
Paul Goodison, Olympic gold medalist, taking over for Ben Ainsley. For this race, Ben will be back for Denmark.
So the British are doing the same as the Japanese did in race 1 here, Todd. Looks to me like they're going to chuck a jibe in and come over to the left-hand side of the course. That's where the Japanese made all the gains to go from 3rd to 1st in the first race. And the Brits are copying that manoeuvre as they round up. Really nice round up by the British. Their lovely coordination between the 3 boys at the back of the boat with the grinders working hard to trim that wind sheet on. Massive news for the French. This is them defending their 3rd place.
Yesterday, the French were the most consistent, 3, 3, and 3 in all 3 races, finishing on the podium in top 3, but they need some points here to make sure they're not overtaken by the Spanish and or the Japanese.
That was the voice of Lee McMillan saying left shift on the Brits, which in layman's terms means the left-hand side of the course is the right way to go.
Hold over and sell, CJ. Let's go early. Let's take a bit of height here before attack.
Spanish round in 4th place. Bounced back yesterday from his red card. He got a 4th in the first race, 4th today. It's not enough.
And this is Australia, Japan just behind them. Tom Slingsby wondering where Nathan Outteridge is.
So that's a bit of a battle for 3rd place, but the Japanese, not only have they got to get past Australia, they've got to sail past most of the fleet, and I tell you what, they're not going to be doing it by sailing at 23 kilometers an hour off the foil.
Significantly there, you see the Australians tack straight away. They saw the Japanese going over towards that right-hand side of the race course. They've tacked over from the bottom gate, did that JK manoeuvre. There we go, look at the velocity from the 2 different boats on the split sides of the course here coming from the Oracle Cloud. You can see there's 16 knots over where the British are on the right-hand side and less than 15. So there is breeze gradients, but I don't think the Australians are going to let that Japanese team get a single split for the rest of this race.
So comms off both boats there. Billy Besson saying they have a huge right, and Ian Jensen, the throttle man, the wing controller on board the British boat, saying build our speed before this tack. And this is a crucial tack, actually. It is softer on the race course. We're under 15 kilometers an hour. Can they stick the tack? If they do, they really will put the pressure on the British. The British tack just in front of them. The British definitely touch down. I think the French do too, so it's all square. Pressure from the French onto the British.
Yeah, I got it.
And that is some proper foiling right there. Paul Goodison, as we said, taken over for Ben Ainsley for the last 2 races. Ben coming back in Denmark. Goodison would love to finish off with a win here in race number 5.
Neil Hunter and Richard Mason winding their handles at the front of the boat. Neil Hunter in particular, when he gets going on those handles, can produce 2,000 watts with his arms. But I tell you, in 15 knots of wind, he might not need to. But this is a big moment for the grinders. The wing sheet eases. The wing is now at maximum power, and you can see them spinning their arms round and round, bring that wing back on, power up, and that takes them to 48 kilometers an hour versus the French at 32. A little extension down the race ladder for the British.
Wow, you can see how the fleet is all spread out. So Great Britain has the lead, France in second, Spain third, the USA holding steady in fourth place right now. Not in so much of a hurry to garner points because they are sitting first overall.
Significantly, gentlemen, as things stand at the moment, the Japanese are struggling. Australia would take third place with 24 points and Japan would only have 19. However, GBR, currently winning this race, would be on 22 points. So if the Australians slip back 2 places, that would put the British into the final on home waters. So the Australians are match racing the Japanese, but they do have to be a little bit careful. They cannot afford to lose 2 more places.
And it is close in that mid-fleet. That is very, very possible from what I can see here. As the Spanish go round in third place, it's getting much lighter. They are falling off the foil more and more and more.
Okay, nice. Boundary jibe here, okay?
That could be a bit of a lifeline for the Australians. We're just talking about them being under pressure, and they've just sailed underneath the Americans, popped on the foil underneath the Americans, turned onto the downwind. And Tom Slingsby talking about trying to build the boat speed, and they've jumped up into fourth place.
So people watching at home, Freddie, why wasn't that a penalty on the Australians on the Americans?
I don't believe there was any contact. The Australians at that moment were just going too fast. They didn't need to engage with the Americans, and they were just happy to fly right by.
Let's go right turn now. Right turn. Okay, fine.
Okay, that's the voice of Lee Macmillan on board the French. Acting as the French tactician, he's talking about going right turn into the bottom. And we see them jibe to do that. They are playing a simple game. If they were going for a race win, they might have tried to split away from the British, but we know they are super happy with second place. They finished third in Bermuda. They didn't have a blinder in Italy, but could this be the second time they've made the final race out of 3 events? Not many people would have called that at the beginning of SailGP Season 2.
Yeah, no question about that. Great Britain would be a shock if they made it into the final after yesterday's performance, but that would be huge for the fans here in Plymouth to get the home team into that final event. Only the top 3 moving on. Great Britain right now leads it. France in second. There's Spain in third. The USA now dropping back to 6th place. But remember, they're first place overall, so points not as much as a premium for them.
And Great Britain and France have gone. By looking at that overhead, you can see the distance between France and Spain is massive. So I do not expect to see France moving back in this fleet. That will lock in their place in the final 3 shootout in race 6.
Nikolai Sehested, the helmsman for Denmark. They could really be spoilers if they can move ahead of Spain and even possibly get into a mix with France, taking valuable points away.
And it's Denmark that are going to be the first boat that go to the opposite gate. You heard the conversation between Tom Johnson and Nicholas Sehested. They were looking around, and they're pretty happy to go to the right-hand side of the course. We haven't really seen that working so far, halfway through race 2.
Have a look in the bottom left-hand corner there. That is the as it stands points if this race finishes as it is, with only 3 more legs to go. It'll be those top 3 boats as they stand into the final.
That's as it stands right now.
As it stands right now. If the Australians don't lose 3 places, that is the key right now. The Brits will only overtake them if the Australians drop back by those 3 places.
So what's your mindset if you're Tom Slingsby, Matt? Are you defending the boats behind you, or are you trying to pick off the Spanish and try and get another little buffer to the boats behind you?
I think it all depends on how close those boats are. I think you still have to sail fairly conservatively. You don't want to start dropping back. They're in a happy place right now. They're 5th on the race course. It can get a little dangerous if you get sucked back into the pack. They don't need to take any places. They've got a buffer. So really just keep it very simple. Just keep it smooth, and they should be fine to get into this final with the American team and the French.
So Great Britain having their best showing of this event here at the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix. They save it for race number 5 as they get set to make the turn at gate number 5.
1, here we go.
Look at the speed in kilometres an hour shoot up there as they go onto the bearaway, onto the final downwind. As things stand, unfortunately for British.
This is the umpires. Penalty Spain, relative Australia,
we're hearing
penalty
there.
clear, penalty clear.
That means Australia are going to step one step up, and they do. As things stand, this is a great win for Great Britain, but they need to see Australia drop to the back of the fleet.
The Americans, but we'll be beyond them, no problem. It's an easy one of them.
So they're already talking about the finish here. As Great Britain saying it's an easy one and in as the rest of the fleet tries to reel them in. For some of the teams, as you pointed out, Freddie, they're defensive. They know their position. They've obviously been in touch with someone with a calculator saying, just hold on, do not give up any more positions.
That's the voice of Paul Goodison, the interim helmsman, standing in for Ben Ainsley. We know in these last two events, Ben Ainsley is going to be back at our next event in Aarhus in Denmark. And this is a nice way for Paul Goodison to sign out of SailGP. He's going to leave a little mark here. And the Brits do sail well on the Sundays. We know that. They bounce back on the Sunday in Bermuda to go from 6th to 1st. Not quite enough this time.
Big battle right now with Australia trying to maintain that 5th position as they are coming up close on 3rd place in Denmark. Nikolai Sehested and Denmark SailGP presented by Rockwell. And look at this crossing as Phil Robertson once again into the mix, and he's going to drop down off at foils and pretty much just hits the e-brake right in front of the Australians.
And the Australians, again, we saw it on the last windward mark. They foiled right underneath the USA and did the slingshot onto the final downwind. They've done the same maneuver against the Spanish. They didn't look to engage the Spanish. They were just using their speed in the light airs to get onto the final sprint.
There comes the USA, currently sitting in 6th place. Japan and New Zealand bringing up the rear. That's bad news for Japan SailGP fans and Nathan Outridge. They needed a much better performance than 7th and the points that go with it.
Yeah, rudder compensator's not quite tuned for these elevators, though.
Well, there's some technical chat coming off Luke Parkinson. He's coming into his final race. Ian Jensen says that's more like it. Let's listen in.
And much to the delight of the fans here in Plymouth, Great Britain SailGP gets the win in race 5.
Everything happens nicely behind us. Yeah.
There, Ian Jensen, the wing trimmer, saying if everything happens nicely behind us, we stand a chance. Paul Goodison said, really nice day today. They needed a bounce back, but they need to see Australia step down the leaderboard if they're going to make the final 3.
This is the umpires. Penalty New Zealand, relative Japan. Penalty New Zealand, relative Japan.
So the Kiwis will have to drop behind
New Zealand
Japan.
We're looking for you to get behind Japan. Get behind Japan.
Okay, H1.
And France finishing in 2nd place. So a good showing from Billy Besson, very consistent throughout the weekend, and it looks like they have punched their ticket into the final.
100% Todd, I can confirm that puts France in the top 3 and into the final in the last race today.
And how about this once again? Look at this, look how close it is.
That's Australia. Little overtake there on the Spanish. That was to move from 5th to 4th. Again, giving them a little buffer about dropping out of the top 3. They love not engaging at that top mark. They love keeping their speed and using it onto the downwind.
Well, disappointing for the Danes this weekend. They showed some signs of consistency, certainly in practice on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but it's what you do on Saturday and Championship Sunday that counts. And now the Danes get ready as they will host SailGP in the next event. Nikolai Sehested, Denmark SailGP, presented by Rockwell, will have a few weeks to get things ready.
And a nice step up in performance by Sehested and his crew here. They're getting better at every event they go to, and they'll want to be hitting the straps when they get to their home event, and they're happy on board.
Top 3 finish for the Danes. Australia doing what they had to do here in race number 4. It was touch and go there at the start, but Slingsby and company getting it done in 4th.
And Slingsby said yesterday he thinks his Achilles heel is light wind sailing, so he will be very happy. He's a confident sailor. He must be confident.
Spain will come in 5th place, but I'll tell you what, that black flag yesterday took them out of the running because no points available for them as they had to sit that one out after just the first leg.
Round up in 10.
The Australians crossing there and confirming their place in the final, and as we see Jimmy Spithill and his American crew coming across the finish line too, that also confirms their place. So we have our top 3 for the final. We have USA, they finished with 27 points. France were just behind them with 26, and Australia on 25. Those are our 3 finalists, gentlemen. Exciting race coming up.
Nice work by Matt with a calculator, getting that math done quickly. So for those 3 boats, another race as Arno Sarafagis filling in for Pete Burling and Blair Tuke brings their boat in. Too many penalties for the Kiwis and just did not seem to find the rhythm here on Sunday in races 4 and 5.
Stop here. Sorry for the start. Start, man.
Sarafagis there saying sorry for the start. They can't have got a blinder, and we know you've got to get off the line well in these light airs if you're going to stand a chance of picking up 8 points for the win.
But race number 5 goes the way of the host nation. Great Britain's SailGP with Paul Goodison at the helm gets the win in front of the fans here in Plymouth.
The sport of sailing for me has got way more extreme, and it is scary at first. What I've discovered in this sport is you've always got to keep scaring yourself to make sure that you're comfortable feeling uncomfortable. Between events is all about training, trying to keep developing your skill set, keep the brain ticking over, and make sure you come back to the next event a lot better than what you were, and that is really, really difficult to do. It's not easy. There is no other boat in the world like the F50. For me, it's about foiling. You've just got to keep foiling. You've got to keep pushing the boundaries of what you know, what you've learned. You've got to keep learning. I guess what's fantastic about living in Gothenburg at the moment is we've got a great bunch of guys all pushing the moth fleet really hard, and we're sailing every day of the week. You need that sort of group of people that are just pushing each other, because one person will raise the bar and everyone else has to get there. What you learn from doing something smaller is you're a lot more connected to the foil. For instance, a kite foil, you can feel everything through your feet. You jump on an F50, you can't feel anything through your feet. You've got to be sailing smaller things, you've got to be doing a bunch of different sailing as well as on different crafts, because you learn so many different things about foiling when you sail a kite, board, a moth, which all translates into sailing an F50.
Nearly falling overboard there.
Take a look at the scoreboard now after 5 races complete. Top 3 moving on. USA is in on 27 points. France also with 26. And Australia gets that 3rd and final transfer position at 25, with Great Britain on a win on race 5, but just not enough points as they finish in 4th. 3 points out of the top 3, so we'll have to watch this final race of the day. Happy now to be joined by the helmsman for USA SailGP, Jimmy Spithill. Jimmy, your work's not done out there. You guys have seemed to found a perfect rhythm in this lighter breeze. What's it going to take this win and get you guys off the bad luck?
Strong pop here.
Now joined with Jimmy Spithill on SailGP USA. Jimmy, congratulations. You guys are into the final. What's it going to take to win this event this weekend?
Going to go up a little further here.
Todd, I think I can answer for him, Todd. The thing that's going to take to win this final race is a clean start. We know that all of the winners so far in these races have got off the line clean. You've got to be keeping the boat ripping in the last 30 seconds.
Well, let's talk about the rules involved here in SailGP and what it takes to walk away with the title.
Australia and Denmark are sailing on different tacks with the wind coming from the right side of screen. Australia is on the starboard tack with the wind blowing towards the right side of the boat. Denmark is on port tack, the wind blowing toward their left side. The boat on starboard has right of way, so Denmark must keep clear and in this case chooses to pass behind, which costs them time and distance. The same applies sailing away from the wind. In this case, the USA is on starboard tack and right of way, and the French are on port tack and must not interfere with the Americans' course. Besson cannot get ahead of Spithill, so he must sail behind the Americans, and it costs time and distance.
Well, a beautiful day here in Plymouth as the weekend draws to an end and one more race to go as we break down the race that we just saw, Matt, race number 5. A great run for the Brits, but not enough points.
Yeah, Todd, let's have a look at the data coming off the boats via the Oracle Cloud. We've got some great numbers for you here. Take a look at Great Britain winning that race. They sailed significantly less distance, beg your pardon, than everyone else in the fleet. Way less maneuvers, keeping those maneuvers down. It was very simple, but that is all what comes from getting a great start and being able to dictate your race. Let's see who can do that in this next one in the final.
So 3 boats in the final will be France, Australia, and the Americans. USA SailGP, their helmsman Jimmy Spithill. As we are 3 minutes away, let's take a moment and meet the crew of USA SailGP.
I am Jimmy Spithill. I am the driver of the US SailGP team.
I am Paul Campbell-James. I am the wing trimmer for the USA SailGP team.
I am Rome Kirby. I'm flight controller for the US SailGP team.
I'm Andrew Campbell. I'm a tactician and grinder for the USA SailGP team.
I'm Cooper Dressler. I'm a grinder for the USA SailGP team.
I am Alex Sinclair. I'm a grinder for the US SailGP team.
I am Daniela Moroz. I am an athlete on the USA SailGP team.
So we are down to the final race of this event, the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix, coming up on 1:40 to go. Todd Harris, Freddie Carr, Matt Cornwell with you here in beautiful Plymouth. Freddie, we heard a lot of different accents on SailGP Team USA, so you don't have to be a complete American to be on board that boat.
No, every boat has one wild card on board, but all the rest are from the nation of the flag at the top of the wing. The wild card on board the American boat that we're on board with here is Paul Campbell-James, the wing trimmer, and I heard just now he said, I am going to burn this wing sheet out during this race. That means he is going to be pumping his accelerator to get that boat ripping in the light airs.
So here we go with a minute to go before the start of the final race. This is for the honors of taking home the top prize here at the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix. Remember, Bermuda was won by Great Britain. Italy was won by Japan. Can the Americans get the win here in Plymouth?
This is interesting. The French and the Americans are engaged. They've locked horns down at the bottom end of the line, and the Australians that were on board now are sailing loose and free with 37 seconds to go. That gives the Australians a little bit more room to stay on the foil, and the Australians and the French are locked together. A very different strategy of only 3 boats versus 8. We're hearing the dominant voice of Lee McMillan telling Billy Besson to keep the speed. I feel like all the boats are quite a long way away from the line with 19 seconds to go. The Australians are the fastest and the French are in the best position. The Americans might just be stuck in no man land with 10 seconds to go. The Australians are taking a big dive.
And here we go, 5 seconds to go before the line goes white. Did they hit it right? And it looks to be perfect starting for Jimmy Spithill and Team USA. Australia looked to have the momentum, but fell off at the last moment.
It's a boat speed race. It's a boat speed race right now between Australia and America. We're on board with America here. Let's see if Paul Campbell-James wears that wing sheet out. Right now, it doesn't look like he's too dynamic, but they've got good boat speed. They're going to be neck and neck as they hit the yellow circle. Whoever hits that circle first, marks one. And that's the Australians. Mark one now looking to convert that good position onto the downwind. All about the simultaneous jibe that's coming up next.
So on the first gate, it's Australia with the lead, USA second, and France in third.
Every race we have seen so far has been won by the guy in the lead, who's halfway around the course, who's still in the lead. Is that significant right now? What can the American and the French team do to get ahead of this Australian team? They love being in the lead. Oh, that looks a little bit loose, though.
Oh, man, he said watch the rudders and shouted no. Oh, he's got no rudders. That means the lift of the rudders, the back of the boat fell out of the sky. That could be the moment that the Americans sail past them. If the Americans stick their jibe, I think we'll have a lead change. And we do have a lead change. The Australians could go from first to third.
That could be the moment of the match as the USA now catapults himself into first place after that mistake. Unfortunate for Australia.
Wow, that was all about pressure, wasn't it? They would have been looking behind. They had the American team right on their hammer, and that forced them into a really bad maneuver.
All right, let's look at it one more time, exactly what went wrong here for Tom Slingsby.
So as Tom turned down into the jibe, he said, I've lost my rudders, I've lost my rudders. You can see his hand twisting, the wheel shakes in his hand, and you can hear his frustration and look at the disappointment on the trimmer. Nick Hutton's face, he says, I've got no rudders. He mentioned the rudders were a little bit sticky at the end of race one. And has he just paid for it in the final? This is the view on board the French boat looking at the same incident. Going round Mark 1. Bearing away onto the downwind, so it's all about the jibe that's coming up now as we go back to the live racing with the Americans in the lead.
We have seen this situation before, though, haven't we, gentlemen? This is the same view that we had in Toronto. The Americans had a healthy lead in that race. They hit a submerged object, and that cost them the lead. That will be in their minds, but they will want to make amends for that in this race, and they will be chomping at the bit to be in the lead right now.
So in gate number 2, it's America out in front. France coming in second, and Australia, after that poor maneuver where they lost control, have now slid back to third. This is a very precarious situation for the rest of the fleet. Just 3 boats out on the course, Freddie, so it is wide open. You give Jimmy Spithill that much canvas and that much room, it's a dangerous proposition.
Exactly, we've got 3 boats here that have all been in a podium race so far in season 2. Not one of these boats has won from that podium race. We know the USA could have gone on to win it in Toronto and got some bad luck. But they are back in the lead of this final podium race here in Plymouth. This time, can they convert it? Is it another comeback by Spithill?
Australia, the defending champions from last year, looking for a big win here in season 2. The Americans trying to get off the problems they had both in Bermuda and Toronto. And is this the spot? Is this where they get it done?
Well, look at this. There's a huge split. It's a very wide race course. And look at the breeze down your top left-hand corner. It's fairly even, but a second ago we saw about a knot more. That may be because the French went through attack, but we saw about a knot more over on this left-hand side of the race course. That means they should be a bit of a gain for the French team over the Australians here.
This is really interesting now for me, Matthew. What do American Spithill do as we go on board with Spithill here? Do you cover the French or do you cover the Australians? You can only cover one side of the course. When I say cover, you're going to try and keep your... Whoa, there's a wobble. Oh my goodness, what's happened there? Let's listen on board. Pretty calm. Campbell-James says speed build for the tack. And there's another rudder conversation there. That was the voice of Ron Kirby's. The rudders are misbehaving today. And what we see by the French popping out behind is the Australians and the French are engaged. And the Americans are sailing by themselves in the lead.
Wow, doesn't it feel nervy out there? We're seeing unforced errors from all these teams.
Look at the speed drop.
Yeah, big speed drop just coming
saying
out.
We've got a duck on the USA. That means the French have closed right up. We saw from the helicopter shot there, they are neck and neck and neck coming in to the top mark.
I think the Australians are going to be right in this conversation too. They have got that split from these two.
This is a massive moment of the race. We've got the Australians joining from the other side of the race course, and we've got the French and the Americans coming in from the right, and it looks like the right-hand side has paid dividends, but no boats are laying right now. Only the Australians might get through. Both the French and the Americans have got one more tack to do as Jimmy Spithill winds the boat up into attack to face the Australians, but it's the French that have wound up in pressure. It's the French that are on starboard. It's the French that should own this mark, and there is multiple lead changes on leg 3.
Terrible tack by the American team there. Again, under the pressure, they really needed to nail that. They could have made it half the Australian team, but the French getting ahead, they just laid that mark. They perfected their lay line on that last tack, that one extra maneuver. Wow, this final is all on, isn't it?
So the USA goes from first to third at the halfway point. France has now taken over the lead, the most consistent boat really all weekend long, and Australia back in the mix after that early issue.
3-boat finals is where it's at. I just don't know where to look. This race is alive as they sprint downwind in the middle downwind, as the French go for a jibe. They need to nail it. We know that it lost the Australians the lead on their first jibe of the first downwind. Let's stay on board, turning the boat. The board lands. Lovely flight control there from Morvan.
Nothing but air. Nothing but air. That's what you want.
Yeah. Wow, high pressure jibe. They got the lead. That jibe was massive. Morvan absolutely nailed it. Nothing but air, man.
It's all about keeping your cool right now, and they're doing it at the moment. They're not renowned for it, the French team. They have brought Lee McMillan in since then. You can see the true wind velocity across the course there too. There are French and slightly more breeze, so maybe it is still slightly favourable on that left-hand side. But yeah, just keep the cool, Frenchies. Lee, help them through this, mate.
Coming down.
This is leg 4 of 7. Tight crossing here as Australia will have to go behind the French. And look at the speed the Aussies are carrying right now, upwards of 55 kilometers an hour.
So they're going to come back together here. We're going to have a Simo jibe as Australia and France come back together. France will have the right of way because they're on starboard, as we explained in between races. And they are going to split the course again. Here goes the board down on the French. Another high pressure jibes, but the Australians are ripping. The Americans have had a sticky downwind. They're over 100 meters off the back of these two. This is the race for the win in Plymouth.
1, 2, coming out, 1.
Oh man, they go around the leeward marks together onto the final 2 legs of the course. It's going to be about which side the best breeze is on here, Matt.
This is brilliant, isn't it? This is what we want. Let's get those head-to-heads up if we can, and we'll show you the speeds between the boats in a second. Which side would you pick, Freddie? The left has looked slightly better from what I've seen so far. It's a really wide course, though, so anything can happen. Roll the dice. Who's going to win this next cross? You never really know who's ahead until it gets to the cross. The Australians will have the right of way when they meet again. French look pretty good in the distance there over on that left-hand side, though. They're carrying on. They've got a longer board from the top mark. They're just tacking now. And we'll see as they get in towards the middle.
What a comeback by the defending champions from season 2020. Australia looking like the form they had yesterday to start off this event, winning 2 races in a row before falling back and then fighting themselves into the top 3.
Jimmy Spithill on USA is a fighter, isn't he? He was over 100 meters behind the last time we checked, and he's chomping back into this. A 31-meter lead for the Australians over the French, but they will split again. Will Tom Slingsby tack and face them?
What's amazing is we've got 2 legs to go, and the entire 3-boat fleet are within 100 meters of each other.
He couldn't tack there, no way. He was too close. If he'd attacked, the French would have rolled over the top of him or underneath him. He would have given up the lead. He had to let the French split out. So look, he's waving the camera blade out the way there. Sorry, guys, but it's all about the TV. There's a lot of people watching this, I'm afraid, Tom. So concentrate on the race. See what the French are doing. Keep that boat ripping if you're going to win this race.
Local boy Nick Hutton there popped up before the tank, sailing in the waters where he learned to sail. What a win this would be for him. He's the Australian wildcard. It's a battle of nations. 4 Australians on board that boat, 1 Brit. He'd be the happiest Brit in sailing if he won here. But that's not a great tack. There's a lot of splashing, and it looks like the French have done a really nice tack as they're coming back from the right. Yes, it says it's a 21-meter lead to the Australians. This will close down as they come back together.
Can the French lay that left-hand gate? That is a big question too as they get towards the top.
Slingsby says, I've got us not crossing. That means the French should be ahead as we come back. It's now about whether the French are laying the windward gate. Let's listen on board. This is crucial moments.
Key cross coming up.
McMillan disagrees and says Australia's across. But they're both laying the windward marks. Australia are going to get their 2 or 3 seconds before the French, and it's about how they manage the bearaways. Lot of pressure on the flight controllers. Morvan did the last downwind beautifully. Can he do it again compared to Ed Powys?
Rounding at the same time. This is all on. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. This is the last downwind leg before the reach the finish. It is all on between these two teams.
So one more leg to go and about 3 minutes of racing. Can the Americans come back? Will the Australians or the French take a hold of this race, or will someone make a high-pressure mistake?
Oh, this is unbelievable. You can see the white lines on the screen there dictating how far to go until the bottom. The Australians jibe. That was a beautiful jibe. They stayed on the foil. The dagger board lifts up. They now need to get it ripping, and the pressure goes over onto the French. The French have got to be the next boat to jibe. If you fall off the foils, you lose the win. It's all about crew work on the final downwind. Keep the boat in the air. Keep the boat ripping.
Another really key cross coming up here. The French will be the giveaway boat, but can they cross ahead of the Australians? Doesn't look like it right now, but let's see as we get down here.
Okay, Tom Slingsby on board the Australian said we're still ahead, but if he is on ley line, he's got a small advantage.
It's into this gate and then a quick blast to the finish line. This could be for the win right here.
This is the jibe to land the Australians in front of the French. Let's listen to the onboards. Will the French be able to use the down speed of the Australians to step past them?
No issue with him.
No issue with him is the call off board the Australians. And they're accelerating. That might have been the jibe that won the event.
Call is a move of the day. Yep. And now the dirty wind coming off the sail of Australia, SailGP. That could have been the move as the Americans unable to close the gap as they led at one point, now sitting in third. And now it's Australia with a quick blast to the finish line. No more maneuvers needed for them as France is in second as they watch the Aussies get up to 60 kilometers an hour.
They did the worst jibe of the day on the first downwind to give up the lead. They did the best jibe of the day to win this event. Is like air's really your weakness, Tom Slingsby. Absolutely unbelievable race.
So the Aussies become the comeback kids at the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix, and the defending champions get their first overall win of the season.
What a way to bounce back from last in Taranto to first in Plymouth. And the French coming across the line in second. That is their second podium of season 2. Bravo, Billy Besson.
Thanks, Rick. Alright,
All three celebration in Australia.
All three of these teams had made the final before in the last 2 events, and it was all about who was going to hold their nerve. We saw some real wobbles out there, didn't we? Saw the pressure, but when it counted right at the end, one more pressure jibe. I love that the audio comms coming off the Australian boat were nice and calm. Slingsby sounded calm.
Did you hear that?
Got it done.
Slingsby saying the red mist came in a few times there, Matt. What does he mean by that?
Well, he's a red-headed man. He knows he's a fighter, literally. He loves to do a bit of boxing. I wouldn't want to get in the ring with him. And every time I guess that sort of red-headed Celtic blood in him sees the better of him, and he gets a little bit mad and crazy. But when it counted at the end, the red mist had gone, and he got the job done. Well done, Tom Slingsby and his Australian crew here winning in Plymouth.
The defending champions doing a fantastic job as they come back. It looked like they were out, barely made it in to the final, but what a performance by the Aussies.
A performance by the Aussies. I'm going to pick one guy out as my sailor on that boat, and that is Ed Powys. He stepped in here because of other crew's commitments elsewhere with the Olympics and Kinley Fowler awaiting the birth of his second child. Ed Powys stepped in there. He's just rubbing his hands through his hair. He came on board as the flight controller. Arguably the hardest position to do in the light airs, and he has absolutely nailed it. Well sailed, Ed Powys, my man of the match.
So Australia bounces back in the waters of Plymouth to get the win at event number 3. Australia SailGP, your winners. It'll be an amazing night of celebration for the Aussies as they now turn their attention to Denmark, which is coming up in just a short amount of time. So the Aussies can celebrate now. But guys, let's go back to the moment of the day. This was critical for the Aussies and the win.
So this is the first reach coming down. The Australians got a great start and they controlled at Mark 1 with the French and the USA breathing down their neck. We know the first jibe is massive if they come to boundary. And just look how much Slingsby is spinning his twist grip on his hand. The black grip trying to fly the boat. You can see the wheel going everywhere, the yellow wheel going everywhere. Really fighting the rudders. As I've said, the rudders don't only turn the boats left and right, but they have elevators on the bottom of them. And he said, I've lost the rudders, I've lost the rudders. And they had the worst jibe I've seen any boat do all weekend. And it was the most high pressure jibe of the event. But hey, forget that. They had one jibe, their last jibe of the event. Jibing in front of the French was absolutely incredible. We knew it was neck and neck. If they repeated that bad maneuver, they would have lost. And they absolutely nailed that jibe. Well done, Australia.
Well, France may have been the most consistent boat all weekend here at the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix. Billy Basson, the helmsman for France SailGP. Billy, congratulations. Well done out there. Take us through that final race and what the conditions were like for you and the crew.
Yeah, the final race was really, really nice. And, you know, we just tried to make a best as we can. And I'm very proud about my crew and the team, so we are very happy.
Yeah, the season looks so much better for you guys now. You guys yesterday were so consistent, finishing it in top 3 positions, 3 races in a row, but you knew you had the pressure coming in today to make sure that you made it into this final race. How much of a relief is it for you guys knowing that you made it into the final race, finished in second, but you get those valuable points?
Yeah, it was a really exciting, weekend. So we learned a lot, and we tried to make a really good start because it's really, really important. So and at the end we finish second. So it's a really nice weekend.
Billy,
but, yeah, we need to work to beat the Australian.
Billy, merci beaucoup for your time and bon chance in Denmark.
Thanks.
Billy Basson and France finishing second, and they pick up very valuable points on the overall here after 3 events at SailGP. Take a look at the points now as we take a look at the regatta standings after 3 events. So Australia picks up the win, and that's the 10 points they have, with France finishing in second, the USA finishing in third. That goes into their tally. And Great Britain finishing in 4th overall. Disappointing for Spain. That black flag really cost them. And surprised to see Japan, after winning in Italy, finishing in 6th place.
Yes, I am.
Tom Slingsby, the helmsman for Australia SailGP. Tom, you come off your worst performance in Italy, and you guys bounce back here in Plymouth. What was the key?
Yeah, good question what the key was. I think really being candid with ourselves, and it's easy just to say we had a bad event in Italy, but for this we really sort of decided that we had to look at ourselves, and we are weak in lighter airs, and yeah, we got to work on that issue, and we did, and we came back strong. Hey, Ed, boys, just move over.
Tom, I got to ask you, you had that one final maneuver with France bearing down on you, and I hate to go MMA on you, but you went rear naked choke on the French and put this thing down.
Yeah, I don't know if that really works for that situation, but yeah, it was very tight. The French nailed that lay line, and we knew that it was going to be a tricky position, and we thought that we could stick the jibe, but it's hard to know how quickly they're coming at you. If they're coming with a big speed differential, they actually can roll you or hook you, and we just had enough room, and we nailed a perfect jibe, and
able to hold them off, and we're ecstatic.
Well, I'm not saying they tapped out, but you do get the win, so congratulations, and we will see you in Denmark.
Great, thank you very much. Thanks,
Congratulations to Tom Slingsby, Australia SailGP, and I agree with Freddie Carr. You might think the man of the match was Ed Powys as he steps into a very tough situation and they come away with a victory. And now it's champagne time there in Plymouth.
A win, a bounce-back win like that when you've finished last, and in Tom Slingsby's own words, that's the worst he thinks he's sailed since he crashed out the Olympic Games as favourite in 2008, and he went to win the gold in London 2012. He said Taranto a month ago was the worst he's sailed since then. What a way to reply and come and win in what he says is his weakest conditions. Very impressive.
Well, the Aussies rule the Sound this weekend at the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix. They bounced back from a terrible performance in Italy. And so now 3 events, 3 different winners. Great Britain, Japan, and now the Aussies join that crew. What an impressive performance by them as the Aussies get it done. Not the only race taking place on the Sound this weekend, Matt Cornwell. The kids out there on the Wasp getting it done as well, putting on a great show.
Well, who are going to be the SailGP finalists in the future? Some of them are going to come from this wonderful Inspire program. It is a world-class racing program to try and identify the next generation of diverse, high-performance sailors. It's a training clinic using pro coaches, followed by racing each day in our wonderful Inspire Foiling Wasps on the official SailGP race course. The idea is to build a more inclusive sport from the ground up, creating the next generation of climate advocates too, because 100% of these sailors will be educated about a sustainable future, something that is really important to us in SailGP. Inspire, it's all in the name, the next generation of elite sailors and climate champions.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. We look forward to seeing more of them out on the waters as we get ready to turn north and head to Denmark and the next event on the SailGP calendar. Let's take a look at the standings now after 3 events. Wow, it has been tight racing, as we said, a lot of parity. And now look at this, Australia and Great Britain tied on 22, with France now sitting in 3rd, the USA currently sitting in 4th, so they move way up, and they are even with Japan and Spain. But guys, look at this. There's only 5 points separating the top and the bottom.
Unbelievable. I thought this event would be the moving event where everything's spread out a bit. How wrong I was. It's actually got more condensed. That win in the last race that Great Britain did, race 5, moving up to 4th overall, is massive. It has kept them right in the hunt, and Ben Ainsley is going to take back the keys of Paul Goodison right at the top of the leaderboard where he left them. And bravo, France. Who would have called that the French were 1 point off the lead? Spanish go from leading overall in season 2 down to 6th.
Matt, your final thoughts.
It feels like the season has sort of restarted again. It hasn't really settled yet. Crew changes all across the board. There's opportunities for all these teams to try and win overall this season.
Well, coming up on the 20th and 21st of August, it's Rockwool, Denmark Sail Grand Prix. So on behalf of Freddie Carr, Matt Cornwell, I'm Todd Harris saying goodbye from Britain's Ocean City, Plymouth.